recent study about stress and anxiety in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Well, if you're feeling stressful, we're going to keep Dr. Judith Orloff around next half of the hour here for you to take your phone calls. She's a medical intuitive and board-certified psychiatrist, author of the upcoming book, Emotional Freedom, which I do believe has been published now. She's also the assistant clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, has a private practice in Los Angeles, and here she is. Judith, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, George?
Good to talk with you. Emotional Freedom, is that book out yet?
It's coming out in the next few months. It's about how to transform negative emotions such as fear and worry and anger and everything that everyone is feeling about the economy, and how to transform that into more positive states and not be brought down by the energy of negativity, which can be so intense.
It is everywhere. People that I have known who normally have great energy, tremendous karma, they're losing it, Judith. They're simply losing it. They're not the same kind of people. What is happening to them?
Well, we live in a world that's permeated by fear and negativity. And what I've seen as a psychiatrist and an intuitive is that many people are like sponges. They're like energetic sponges, and they absorb the negative emotions of others and also negative emotions from the news into their own bodies. So they're going crazy. They're very tense. They're very anxious, they're getting depressed, they're getting depleted because they're all taking it on. And I think what we have to do to achieve emotional freedom is to really turn our attention to what's more positive and not get sucked up into the seduction and the vortex of negativity. From an intuitive standpoint, negativity is really a loud signal, and so our attention goes right to it. And so that's why we have to really be mindful and shift our attention from all the negativity, because it's just everywhere. It can really bring us down. And I've seen, as you have, many people who are just suffering enormously from taking this on.
70% last month seemed to be happy. Now 59%. It's dropping. 1/3 of the people are worried about losing their jobs. Half of them fret that they'll be unable to keep up with their mortgage and credit card payments. 7 in 10 are anxious that their stock and retirement investments are losing value. It's all over the place. And then there's also distress, Judith, about the possibility of not being able to afford unexpected medical expenses, children's college. People are being bombarded on a day-to-day basis. How do they pull themselves back from this?
Well, there's a reality element, of course, to what's going on, and there's a real reason to be upset. But what we have to do is make a commitment not to lead a fear-driven life, and we have to really bring ourselves back to the moment, back to the now, and to just look at what's in front of us today rather than catastrophizing. Because what I've seen with my patients is that people are catastrophizing about losing everything and what's going to happen in the future. And to deal with fear, if you really want to be a warrior and deal with fear, you can't do that. That's a seduction. You have to try to stay in the moment, try and deal with solutions in what can really help you feel better in the moment, rather than going down with fear. I mean, fear is everywhere, and I see it as a major spiritual lesson for everybody here on earth, is to learn how to deal with fear. And we're given a great opportunity to do that in this day and time. Now, if you can see emotions as spiritual teachers, in a sense, and that they can be the beginning for transforming fear with courage. Because what I say in emotional freedom is that we need to be able to see fear as the impetus to transform it into courage. And that's the great lesson for all of us, no matter what we're going through.
With your psychiatric practice, have you ever seen a time where so many people seem to just be on edge?
No, I really haven't. In 20 years as a psychiatrist, I have never seen anything with the intensity of what is going on now. There are so many people who are depressed and anxious and losing it, and every day fear going around in their minds more than ever. And so for that reason, I mean, I think that's true for us, on many, many levels, but for that reason, we have to learn how to breathe, center, come back to ourselves, and really begin to not be seduced by fear or worry, to begin to cultivate more of a in the moment, in the now mentality, and also spread positive energy everywhere you go. We need it more than ever. I mean, if people are dropping like flies because of fear, then that network that's holding everything together, the goodness and the intuition and the loving network that we all have is going to break up. And so regardless of what's going on the outside, I mean, even, with my patients who are under financial stress, I suggest tithing, even a little bit, to create that energy, that positive energy of abundance going so that people don't get into hoarding, frightened, small mentality. For emotional freedom, the idea is to rise above any emotion and to try and be bigger than it is, even in the face of very realistic problems such as the economy. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before with my patients or in the world.
What about somebody who is holding on, but they're bombarded by negativity, people who are toxic around them? What do they do about that?
Well, these are the emotional vampires.
Yes.
These are the people who can suck you dry if you don't really stay aware of it because they're all over. I mean,
we talked about them 3 years ago when you were on the show, I think.
We definitely did. And in this book, I have gone on to talk about more and different kinds of emotional vampires because I think we need to be aware of them so we don't let them suck our energy. And now, with all this fear going on, I mean, they're just coming out of the woodwork because people are so susceptible. As when somebody is afraid, then they get into victim mode. And then the emotional vampires go in for the kill. They can sense a victim a mile off. And so if you're able to shift that even a little bit, and you're able to say, all right, this person is draining my energy, I'm not going to allow it. There's enough going on in the world. I don't need somebody in my life draining my energy. It takes awareness. And I'm so happy that you've spoken about it, on your show as frequently as you have, because it's really an issue that people need to be aware of in order to be free. Otherwise, the emotional vampires, the people who are victims or controllers or criticizers, they just come out of the woodwork, and you need to learn how to recognize them and say no to them.
Well, we monitor the pulse of people, Judy, and, it's just, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look around and see that people are stressed to the max. I mean, I saw a girl, she was pumping gasoline here in St. Louis today, and, she had like $2 to put in the tank, and you could just see the frustration because that's less than a gallon of gasoline.
Right.
I mean, you could just see it on her face. And, this is happening to millions and millions of people. And I think that in spite of all this junk everybody's faced on a day-to-day basis, they can pull out of this. It's not easy. It's not easy, as producer Tom sends me a text, and he says, you know what, it's tough when you got to pay your gas bill and your credit card. That is tough. It's not easy, but you shouldn't let it destroy you and pull you down, right?
I agree with you, and I hear that a lot, that it's not easy. Well, my feeling is, and I'm not lacking compassion here, my feeling is, so what? There are so many things that are difficult, but we can't let that stop us. Not only do we have to deal with the reality elements of the economy and everything, like the woman you just described who's pumping the gas, my God, we can so empathize, and that just, really tears my heart out to hear that. But at the same time, there's another level of reality from what I see and how we're experiencing life, and we need to look at every challenge as a spiritual challenge to tap into our intuition and become more emotionally free.
Let's help some people tonight, Judith. We'll take phone calls. Plus, if you want to share your stories with us about how you have witnessed people who are just stressed to the max, what you may have seen, call in. I'm George Noory, back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.